Imagine a life where no insult can break you, no argument can shake you, and no person can control how you feel. A life where your calm presence makes people think twice before raising their voice at you. That's the power of inner control, the kind of strength that doesn't come from muscles, but from mastery of emotion. Ask yourself, how different would your life be if you stopped reacting instantly and started responding wisely? If instead of losing control in anger, you paused, observed, and acted from strength. Most people give away their power every time they react. But the Stoic, he doesn't. He stays silent when others shout, composed when others panic, wise when others lose reason. In this video, you'll learn Stoic lessons that will teach you how to react in a way that commands instant respect. Lessons that transform your emotions into strength, your silence into power, and your calm into authority. Because when you learn to react like this, you won't need to demand respect. Your energy will already command it. Never argue with a fool. When you argue with a fool, you become part of the same foolishness you wanted to avoid. The Stoics deeply understood this truth. They realized that arguing with someone who has no interest in understanding, only in winning, is a waste of both time and peace. Some people don't argue to find truth. They argue to feed their ego, to feel powerful, or to drag you down to their emotional level. The more you react, the stronger they feel, and the weaker you become. That's why silence is the most powerful response. It denies them the reaction they crave and shows that your energy is too valuable to be wasted on meaningless battle. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." This means the greatest victory is not to defeat the fool, but to refuse to become one. When someone insults you, mocks you, or tries to humiliate you, they are revealing the state of their character, not yours. It's a mirror reflecting their insecurity, frustration, or ignorance. If you let anger take over, you start reflecting that same energy back, and soon you both look the same in the eyes of others. But if you stay calm, your composure becomes your shield. People can see who truly holds the power in that moment, the one who remains unbothered. The Stoics taught that your peace of mind is sacred. Once you start defending yourself to every ignorant person, you hand them the keys to your inner world. True wisdom is not found in winning arguments, but in choosing which ones are worth your breath. Most are not. When you walk away, you're not weak. You're wise enough to protect your peace. The fool may think he has won the conversation, but in truth, he has lost his dignity while you have kept yours. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember, silence is not surrender, it's strategy. Don't react to noise, respond with presence. When you stay calm in the face of ignorance, you show strength without aggression and superiority without pride. Your calmness exposes their chaos. Your silence humiliates their arrogance. And that is how you win without ever needing to fight. 2. Never react out of ego. Ego is the invisible trap that turns wise people into fools. It whispers, "Don't let them disrespect you. You must prove them wrong. Or, you can't look weak." And before you know it, you've lost control. Not because someone hurt you, but because your ego demanded that you react. The Stoics understood that the ego is never satisfied. It feeds on validation, attention, and dominance. The more you listen to it, the more it controls you. But the moment you recognize its voice and choose silence instead of reaction, you regain your power. Reacting out of ego is like pouring fuel on a small fire. It might make you feel powerful for a second, but soon you're the one getting burned. True strength doesn't come from proving your worth. It comes from knowing it so deeply that no one's words can shake it. When someone challenges you, insults you, or tries to make you angry, understand that their behavior is a reflection of their inner chaos, not your value. A person at peace has no desire to provoke others. Only those battling their own insecurities seek to disturb yours. Marcus Aurelius taught that dignity and composure are greater victories than any argument. When you act out of ego, you lose both. But when you stay calm and respond with awareness, you rise above the situation. The Stoic doesn't ask, "How can I win this argument?" They ask, "Will this reaction make me a better person or just a louder one?" That one question changes everything. Remember, you don't need to react to everything that offends you. Not every disrespect deserves a response. Sometimes walking away is not avoidance, it's leadership. It shows that your emotions serve you, not the other way around. When your actions are guided by wisdom instead of ego, you stop chasing validation and start living from inner peace. The strongest people are not those who fight every battle. They are those who choose their battles with intelligence. They know that ego wants noise, but wisdom seeks silence. The moment you choose calm over chaos, you shift from being controlled to being in control. And that's when you realize nobody can truly disrespect you unless you let your ego believe that they can. 3. Detach from outcome. Focus on character. One of the greatest lessons of Stoicism is learning to detach from what you cannot control. Most of our stress, anger, and disappointment come from being too attached to results. How people should treat us, how plans should unfold, or how success should look. But life doesn't move according to our expectations, it moves according to truth. The Stoic doesn't measure peace by outcomes, but by the integrity of their actions. When you focus on doing what's right instead of controlling what happens, you begin to live in freedom, not frustration. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop clinging. You can still give your best effort, love deeply, and work passionately, but without making your peace depend on what comes after. Because once your happiness is tied to a specific result, you give that result power over you. If it fails, you fall. If it succeeds, you fear losing it. The Stoic understands that true stability comes from within, from the quiet knowledge that you did your part with honesty and strength, no matter what the outcome was. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This is the essence of inner freedom. You cannot control the weather, people's opinions, or the future, but you can always control your character, your discipline, and your attitude. When you live by these, nothing external can shake your inner peace. The results may not always favor you, but your response will always define you. Many people lose themselves chasing outcomes. They compromise their values to please others, to win arguments, or to achieve faster success. But the Stoic understands that real success is being able to look at yourself in the mirror and know that you didn't betray your principles in the process. Winning at life is meaningless if you lose your integrity to get there. So stop trying to control how everything turns out. Instead, focus on who you become along the way. Do what's right, stay honest, stay disciplined, and let destiny unfold as it will. When your peace is rooted in your character, you no longer rise and fall with circumstances. You remain steady through it all. That's how the Stoic lives, calm in loss, humble in victory, and unshakable in every storm. 4. Don't react. Reflect. Most people live on autopilot, reacting to everything around them, a rude comment, a problem at work, a small inconvenience, and letting these moments control their entire mood. But the Stoic learns to pause. To them, reflection is not weakness, it's wisdom. When something happens, instead of instantly reacting, they stop and think, what's really happening here? What's within my control? What will I gain by reacting? That small moment of reflection separates emotional chaos from emotional mastery. When you reflect before reacting, you give yourself space to choose your response instead of being a prisoner of impulse. You start understanding that not everything requires your energy. Some things are better left unbothered, some people don't deserve a response, and some moments are meant to teach, not test. Reflection turns anger into awareness, frustration into understanding, and pain into perspective. It doesn't mean you ignore what happens. It means you look at it through a calm, rational lens rather than a clouded emotional one. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to take a view from above whenever something upset him. That meant stepping back mentally, seeing the situation from a higher perspective. When you zoom out, you realize how small most problems really are. What felt like a huge insult or failure yesterday becomes insignificant when seen through time and reason. The Stoic knows that control begins with observation. You can't master a storm you refuse to see clearly. Reflecting before reacting also earns you respect. People trust those who remain calm under pressure, who don't let their emotions hijack their logic. It shows maturity, the kind that cannot be faked. The more you practice reflection, the more composed your presence becomes. You stop being easily provoked because you've learned that every reaction either builds or breaks your peace. Think of it this way: reacting is easy, anyone can do it. Reflecting is rare, and that's why it's powerful. When you choose to reflect instead of react, you show that your emotions serve you, not the other way around. You take back control of your life, moment by moment, thought by thought, and eventually that calm becomes your nature. You start walking through chaos like still water, unaffected, focused, and deeply at peace. That's what it means to be truly stoic, to live from reflection, not reaction. 5. Reframe every attack into an advantage. Life will always test you through difficult people, unfair treatment, unexpected loss, and painful criticism. But what separates the Stoic from everyone else is not what they go through, but how they interpret it. The Stoic understands that every situation, no matter how unpleasant, carries a hidden lesson within it. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" That one question transforms the meaning of every challenge. What used to feel like punishment starts to look like preparation. What once made you angry now becomes your training ground for wisdom, patience, and strength. To reframe is to take control of your mind's lens. Imagine life as a movie. You can't always choose the scenes, but you can decide how to view them. When someone disrespects you, the average person sees insult and reacts emotionally, but the Stoic sees opportunity, a moment to strengthen self-control. When someone betrays your trust, others see pain. The Stoic sees clarity, a lesson revealing who truly belongs in their circle. When you lose something you value, others drown in sorrow. The Stoic uses it to practice detachment and gratitude for what remains. By changing your perspective, you stop life from defeating you, because nothing is purely negative anymore. It's all experience, all growth. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is not just a quote, it's a formula for inner power. Every attack can either wound you or strengthen you. It depends on the story you tell yourself. When you believe life is happening against you, you suffer. When you understand that it's happening for you, to evolve, sharpen, and awaken you, you gain unstoppable peace. The Stoics trained themselves daily to reinterpret pain as progress. They knew that the body grows through resistance, and so does the soul. Think of every hardship as a forge, shaping your spirit. Fire doesn't destroy iron, it refines it. Criticism doesn't break a wise mind, it polishes it. Every difficult person, every insult, every failure is raw material for your personal growth. Once you start reframing life this way, nothing truly hurts you anymore. It just transforms you. Every rejection becomes redirection. Every delay becomes divine timing. Every heartbreak becomes wisdom in disguise. This mindset doesn't happen overnight. It requires awareness, patience, and humility. But the more you practice it, the more untouchable you become. Instead of being drained by adversity, you begin to draw strength from it. You realize that your power doesn't lie in avoiding pain, but in using it. The moment something negative happens, stop and ask, how can I grow from this? What part of me is this challenging me to improve? That's when you step into true Stoic mastery. When you reframe attacks into advantages, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become the architect of your evolution. Nothing can truly defeat a person who turns every hardship into self-development. That's why the Stoic seems calm under fire, not because life is easy, but because they've learned to make every difficulty serve their growth. They don't waste energy on why me, they focus on watch me. So the next time someone tries to hurt you, thank them silently for giving you another chance to practice patience and self-mastery. When you learn to reframe every attack into an advantage, you transform every wound into wisdom, every insult into inner strength, and every obstacle into your next level. That's the secret of Stoic power, not to avoid pain, but to transform it into purpose. 6. Emotional control is self-respect. There is no greater form of self-respect than the ability to stay calm when your emotions try to take over. The Stoics believed that mastering your emotions was not about becoming cold or detached, but about knowing yourself so deeply that no external force could make you lose your balance. They understood that emotions themselves are not the enemy, it's our reaction to them that causes suffering. Anger, jealousy, sadness, and fear are natural human experiences, but when they begin to control how you think, speak, or act, you lose your power. Emotional control, therefore, is the art of staying centered even when life tries to pull you in every direction. Every time you react impulsively, shouting back, sending that angry message, or saying something you'll later regret, you give away a piece of your strength. You let other people decide how you'll feel, think, and behave. The Stoic sees this for what it is, slavery to emotion. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." To be free is to remain composed when others are losing control, to remain respectful when disrespected, and to stay grounded even when provoked. Your calmness is not weakness, it's a declaration that your peace is not for sale. Imagine two people, one easily angered by every insult, and another who listens, breathes, and responds with clarity. Which one do you respect more? The world always honors the person who remains calm in chaos. Emotional control earns respect, not because it hides emotion, but because it proves maturity. It shows that you can handle yourself under pressure. It's the difference between reacting like a storm or standing like a mountain. And every time you choose calm over chaos, you teach others how to treat you. You show them that you won't be manipulated, provoked, or disrespected into losing your character. The truth is, most people are reactive because they think reacting proves strength. They think shouting means power and silence means defeat. But in Stoic philosophy, the opposite is true. Power is calm. When you are calm, you are aware, and when you are aware, you cannot be easily controlled. People may insult you, but if you remain composed, they lose control of you completely. They can only harm you if you hand them your emotions. The Stoic trains daily to recognize emotional triggers. When anger arises, they breathe. When sadness visits, they observe. When fear whispers, they question it. They understand that emotions are signals, not commands. You can feel anger without acting on it. You can feel hurt without seeking revenge. You can feel disappointment without losing hope. Emotional control is not about denying what you feel, it's about deciding how you express it. Seneca wrote, "He who is angry at the right things and with the right people and in the right way and at the right time has mastered himself." This means you don't suppress emotions, you channel them intelligently. You transform your anger into focus, your fear into caution, your pain into wisdom. That's how emotional control becomes your superpower. It allows you to respond from purpose, not pain. Each time you control your emotions, you reinforce your self-worth. You tell yourself, "I'm not going to let this moment define me." That is self-respect in its purest form, because if you can't control your emotions, someone else eventually will. A manipulative person, a stressful event, or a passing mood. But once you take ownership of your emotional state, you become untouchable. So, the next time something tries to disturb your peace, remember this: losing your temper doesn't prove your strength. Keeping your peace does. Walk away if you must. Breathe instead of shouting. Think instead of reacting. The strongest people are not those who fight fire with fire, but those who extinguish the flame before it spreads. Emotional control isn't about being perfect. It's about protecting your inner balance. It's an act of self-love disguised as discipline. And once you master it, the world starts to respect you differently. Not because you dominate others, but because you dominate yourself. That is the true mark of power and the essence of Stoicism, to rule your emotions so completely that even when the world tests you, your peace remains unbroken. 7. Let wisdom guide your actions, not ego. At the core of Stoicism lies one golden rule: let wisdom, not ego, be your compass in life. Ego acts from impulse. It wants recognition, dominance, and validation. Wisdom acts from awareness. It seeks understanding, peace, and balance. Every moment you face a choice between these two forces, to react from pride or to respond from clarity. The ego screams, "Show them who you are," but wisdom whispers, "Show yourself who you can be." The Stoic always listens to the whisper. They understand that wisdom doesn't need to be loud. It reveals its strength in silence, restraint, and purpose. When you let ego guide you, your life becomes a constant battle for control, control over others' opinions, control over situations, control over outcomes. But when wisdom guides you, you stop fighting for control and start flowing with understanding. You no longer seek to win every argument or impress every person, because you realize that both are traps. The goal of a wise person is not to appear right, but to be right within themselves. To act in alignment with virtue, truth, and reason, even when no one is watching. The Stoics believe that every human being carries two selves: the outer self that seeks approval and the inner self that seeks peace. When you live for the outer self, you're ruled by ego, constantly chasing attention, defending your pride, and fearing judgment. But when you live from the inner self, you're ruled by wisdom. You think deeply before you act, you understand before you speak, and you forgive before you're asked to. Wisdom doesn't react, it reflects. It doesn't demand respect, it earns it through consistency and calmness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." This simple idea is the foundation of Stoic living. Instead of proving yourself, be yourself. Instead of reacting to the world's noise, act from your values. The ego wants recognition now. Wisdom plays the long game. The ego wants to be right. Wisdom wants to do right. The ego burns quickly. Wisdom endures. When you let wisdom lead your actions, you begin to notice that life becomes quieter. Not because it's easier, but because unnecessary battles no longer interest you. You stop explaining yourself to those who misunderstand you, because you know that time will speak louder than words. You stop overreacting to criticism, because you see that every opinion says more about the speaker than it does about you. And you stop forcing outcomes, because you trust that doing the right thing will always guide you toward the right result, even if it takes time. The Stoic understands that every decision, no matter how small, either strengthens or weakens the mind. When you act from ego, you build anxiety, because ego constantly fears being exposed. When you act from wisdom, you build peace, because wisdom has nothing to hide. Wisdom is not about knowing everything. It's about seeing clearly, understanding when to speak and when to stay silent, when to walk away and when to stand firm. It's the quiet awareness that your response matters more than what triggered it. Letting wisdom guide your actions also means mastering humility. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. It's putting truth above pride, learning from correction, and staying teachable even when you're successful. The Stoics never claimed perfection, they practiced progress. They viewed every day as a lesson and every mistake as a teacher. Ego says, "I already know." Wisdom says, "I'm still learning." The difference between the two decides whether your soul evolves or stagnates. When you make choices from wisdom, you begin to feel a different kind of strength, a quiet confidence that doesn't need applause. People sense it, they respect it, they feel safe around you because your energy doesn't shift with every insult or compliment. You carry stability, you become the person others look to when things fall apart, because your calmness is a form of leadership. That's the gift of wisdom. It makes you powerful without aggression, influential without dominance, and respected without demand. So, the next time you're provoked, ask yourself, is this my ego wanting to be heard, or my wisdom guiding me to act? If it's ego, breathe, pause, and let it go. If it's wisdom, follow through calmly and confidently, because every moment of restraint, every act of patience, every choice to respond instead of react is a victory for your higher self. In the end, the Stoic path isn't about being perfect, it's about being conscious. It's about choosing wisdom over ego again and again until it becomes who you are. When you live this way, you no longer chase respect, you attract it naturally. Because real power doesn't come from dominance, it comes from discipline. And when wisdom becomes your guide, no one can control you, no situation can break you, and no insult can touch your peace. You become the living embodiment of strength through serenity, the mark of a true Stoic. In a world that rewards noise, anger, and impulsive reaction, the one who remains calm, thoughtful, and grounded stands out as truly powerful. The Stoics understood that greatness is not measured by how loudly you respond, but by how deeply you think before you do. Every lesson, from refusing to argue with fools, to mastering your emotions, to letting wisdom guide your actions, is a reminder that your reaction defines your strength more than any circumstance ever could. You can't control what others say or do, but you can always control the energy you return to them. When you stop reacting from ego and start responding from wisdom, your entire life begins to change. People sense your presence differently. They notice your calmness, your balance, and your silence that speaks louder than words. They realize you're not easily shaken, not easily offended, and not easily manipulated. You become the person everyone respects, not because you demand it, but because your discipline and composure naturally command it. That's the hidden power of Stoicism, to carry stillness inside a world full of storms. The truth is, reacting to every situation steals your peace, but reflecting before responding builds your character. You don't need to fight every battle, correct every fool, or prove every point. You just need to know who you are and act from that place of inner stability. Real confidence doesn't come from dominance, it comes from control. The more you master your reactions, the more respect you earn, and the less chaos can touch you. So walk through life like a Stoic warrior, calm, centered, and unshakable. Let insults pass through you, let emotions flow without ruling you, and let wisdom lead every step you take. Because when you learn to react like this with strength, peace, and presence, something incredible happens. The world starts to respond to you differently. Respect follows you, peace surrounds you, and chaos no longer controls you. That's when you've truly mastered the art of being untouchable, not by force but by grace.